Hey there guys, Gamer Jamie Triple One here, and today I am not going to be doing a reaction for this video. This is going to be a Cyberpunk 2077 video, and the video is not going to be negative. Well, overly negative. I do have some stuff that I've... Sorry about that. I've just had a drink of something fizzy and it's still bubbling. I do have some stuff wrote down, well, typed up that I am going to be reading from. So I will be doing that now. I am not doing this video in any way to be negative for the sake of being negative towards the game or CD Projekt Red, because I actually genuinely enjoy playing the game. And I am only frustrated with the game when there are severe bugs that get in the way of me playing it, or the game crashing completely and exiting to the Xbox dashboard home screen. But this is a genuine plea to CD Projekt Red to possibly take note of and perhaps even include in the patches that are almost certainly going to be made to the game over the coming year or even years, depending how the quality of DLC impacts the overall quality of the game when they are released. Now, in my opinion, these DLCs should be free for all to make up for the bad quality of release for console players. But at the end of the day, I know the CD Projekt Red is a business and they can charge for the DLC if they want to. But back to the changes they need to include in patches. Some of these are nitpicky type of bugs, but some are more serious and need to be addressed as soon as possible. And I know this will probably be cruel to say, but the game is only in the beta stage, or it's an early release game that will improve as time goes on, in the same vein as Forza Horizon 4. That started out meh, but it's become good over the last 2 and a bit years, with the festival playlist, with the Eliminator, with the Super 7, with the upgrades to the 9th gen consoles, and the constant monthly updates that adds new vehicles to the game. While Cyberpunk 2077 has festered in bugs and glitches and crashes and forced PC reviews where reviewers got PC codes and no Xbox or PlayStation codes, where CDPR kinda knew there would be graphics problems and bugs and the likes, and I hope that with the 9th gen version they have it sorted out by the release date, because I don't think many will buy it for the 9th gen with the problems on the 8th gen. But here are the changes I would strongly suggest they implement on the off chance that they see this video. And this is coming from a player who has been playing from day one, and I have recordings to upload that just need sorting out, and I have many parts of my playthrough already uploaded. And I have also been playing off camera in preparations for DLC or any online system, and especially for a project I have planned, but I am not revealing it yet. Hopefully I will be able to talk about it a bit more by summertime, although who knows with the way the UK is dealing with the pandemic, whether I will even have electricity at that point, from annoyance at our Prime Minister and ripping every source of news out of the house. But enough procrastinating. These are going to be in bullet point format for me to see, and I will just explain myself as best as I can when I am on that section. Now, these changes need to be implemented at a very minimum. Now, number one, CDPR. Now, these are not in any specific order. This is just the way that I have gone through some of my videos and just picked out stuff that definitely needs to be sorted. But number one, CDPR need to overhaul the driving physics almost completely. Now, the brakes do not work, especially on the Caliban. Now, I bought the Caliban because it's like a futuristic Bugatti Veyron, Chiron type thing. And I got it up to its top speed of 207 miles an hour. And it probably took about an in-game quarter of a mile to get it stopped again. Because the brakes did not do anything. It slowed the car down a little bit, and then as it got down to say 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, it all, the brakes just completely locked, and you were practically at a standstill. The handling needs to be overhauled because the way that the wheels turn, they go full lock, and you almost have to turn it in the opposite direction just to correct yourself. But then if you accidentally put it over to the other side a little bit too much, you end up swerving that way, and you have to basically stop and then carry on. But when you stop and then you carry on, there's a problem with the way that it does that, because it's almost like every single car just wants to spin around in a circle, even if you're starting off slowly. And the overall performance of the cars need to be sorted out as well, because the Caliban can do 207, fine, but the Galena G240, I think it's called, or G420, something like that. It's basically what they've made, and it looks a lot like the Volkswagen Golf GTI, the original Golf GTI. You'll probably know which one I mean. But they have that car in its standard form that can hit well over 100 miles an hour, which I don't think that would be possible. And the My, I don't know what it's called, how to pronounce it, that as well can get well over 100 miles an hour, and this is meant to be a stock car that, is for driving around the city. It doesn't seem real, it doesn't seem realistic that car would be able to do that speed. But anyway, and the weight of the cars need to be sorted, because the cars are very floaty, I would say, and they are very boat-like. They will, when you're going around a corner, they take a long time to turn, and when they do turn, they turn too much, and you've got to do all of that. But especially when you are going over a bump, the car comes down with a weight that is almost too much for what the car is, especially if you're in, on the Nomad playthrough, the opening car that you can regain for V, that car is only a little tiny car. It shouldn't be coming down with the force of, like one of the big giant SUVs and, pickup trucks and things like that. It shouldn't feel like it has the same weight as one of them. So basically, the cars just need rehauling and just something doing with them. They need to have perhaps an outside car specialist who can help them. Anyway, number 2, CD Projekt Red need to make. Now, this is definitely on a lot of people's lists for changes that need to be made. CD Projekt Red need to make the HUD map a bit bigger, because everybody's missing turns. They are getting frustrated with the fact that it's not a map that can be expanded unless you go into the pause menu, but that takes a lot longer than just clicking a couple of buttons and the map expanding so you can see a bit more. A sort of like Grand Theft Auto Online, where they have, the little map in the corner, but you press down on the D-pad and it goes into this big map, but it stays open in this big map for about 30 seconds and then it goes back to that little map. They need something similar to that so the players can see where they need to turn, and the turns aren't just popping up straight as they're driving up to it. As they're at the turn, that's when they realise that they've got a turn. So it is definitely something that definitely needs to be sorted. On to number 3. Now, this is one that I've experienced personally. I don't know if many people are getting this or any other people are getting this, but CD Projekt Red need to overhaul the speech system, because for some characters, the mouth is not in time with the words, or the characters are saying different words than what is being actually said, and things like that. And in the case of some characters, I've noticed it's mainly Takemura and Wakako. Those two, whenever you have face to face, I've noticed that their mouths don't move at all while they're speaking. And there have been a couple of other characters, unnamed characters, saying things without the lips moving, but they've had the subtitles above their head. Things like that need to be sorted, because it does pull you out of the roleplay element of it, because you see the subtitles, but you don't have the mouth moving. So, it's almost like the ventriloquizing it, or they, in the case of the mouths not being in time, or the mouth saying something different to what's being said, it does sort of pull you out of it a bit, which is not a good thing when you are having this big AAA title solely relying on that it's a role-playing game. You are role-playing as V and doing all of this stuff to be the best version of V that you can get. But that's enough for that one. Number 4, CD Projekt Red must fix the V bugs. Now, these are for me personally, the arms going through the floor. Now, I've noticed that V's arms stretched and they were going into the floor like in a diagonal, so it was like a like a catch point. I don't know what it's called, but where everything all meets and it all works itself out from there. You know, the catch point. It's almost like the arms were stretching down to that. And people have had, missing head. The V's missing head when they've been riding bikes or, driving in third person in a car or, things like that. They've also had it where you are inside V's face and you see V's eyeballs and teeth and, if they've got the hair down the front, you see the hair and, things like that. It just pulls you out a bit. And people have also been having trouble with the shadows. The shadows are just a basic shadow, no hair, no identifying things, like if you've got bumps on your, like bumps on your coat or, stuff that would be shown in a shadow, it's not. And, people are just getting a little bit iffy about that. But I can't think of anything else to do with V-Bugs, although there could be many, many more. So I'm moving on to number 5. Now, this is one that I have known, I have had a lot of problems with. And that is that the items have no mass and they cease to be interactable once they are destroyed. And I'm talking about lampposts or light posts, the light, the posts with the lights on, whatever you want to call them in your area. In England we call them lampposts. And traffic lights, and the I think they're like like a newspaper thing where you put your money in, open it, take a newspaper, shut it, sort of thing. I don't know if it is that, but it looks like that. So them, once they're all destroyed, once the traffic lights have been knocked down, the lampposts have been knocked down, they've been, knocked over to one side, they lose mass and they stop being interactable. Like, I know this is going to be stupid of me to be comparing it to, but in Grand Theft Auto 5, if you knock a lamppost down or a traffic light down, you can still drive over the lamppost or traffic light or whatever you've knocked over. You can still drive over it. You can still walk over it. It still has mass. It still exists, and it stays there until you've gone far enough away, and then you come back and it's put back exactly where it was, because that's how the world works. It basically resets itself. But once the Cyberpunk posts and bins and newspaper stand things, whatever they're called, and traffic lights and lampposts and all of that lot get knocked down, you can't drive over them, you drive through them. A clipping point. That was the one that I meant before with the V. They were going to a clipping point. That's what I meant. But yeah, you just clip through the posts and, bins and, whatever they're called. You just drive through them, and then, about 5 or 10 seconds later, gone. And, it's just one of them things that just pulls you out again. It stops it being a roleplay. People, I know it probably sounds stupid, but some people do like knocking over the lampposts, especially since they're in, like a single player, and it's, they've got different cars, they can try and see how low a speed they need to go to be able to knock them down and things like that, experiment with it. And they like to be able to interact with them once, it's all been knocked down and things like that. But, once they're knocked down, 5 or 10 seconds later, they're gone. So they can't do them experiments. They can't, play with things like that. It just gives them no reason to go into the game to play it. And, especially once you've finished the main storyline and, you go back to before you meet Hanako, it's just one of them things. You basically just drive around the city doing nothing pretty much. So it does give them something to do, to be able to knock them down and, play with them and experiment around with, different cars, different items and things like that. But enough about that one. I'm moving on to number 6. Now, this is just CD Projekt Red must fix the general bugs that people have been experiencing, like people, like Jackie Wells, flipping about from where he's supposed to be to somewhere else to back, and just bugging out, and people in the middle of the street just stopping and then suddenly going into the Jesus pose. Well, I call it the Jesus pose because it's basically what he does. And, they just stand there in a Jesus pose and, there's just no explanation to it. And, it's just general bugs like that where, like, say you're driving down the street and then, you knock into a car and, everybody on the pavement, sidewalk, whatever you want to call it, just suddenly stops and does Jesus poses, things like that. It does, again, pull you out of the role-playing element. But general bugs need to be fixed because they're what most players are getting, and it's all kinds, from not being able to get on a bike properly to being on the bike but the bike is going one way and you're sitting sort of off to the side and you're going along with it, but you're doing all the motions as if you're actually on the bike, but you're not. You're sat, you're sort of on the air being pulled along with it. It just things like that. That was number 6. Now to number 7. Now this is one that I want implemented the most personally, and that is they must implement a system that can deactivate the objectives on screen, especially after completing the main storyline and you go back to before you meet Hanako. Now, I have got Hanako, I've got meet Hanako at Embers on my screen every single time I go into Cyberpunk 2077, and I've got no way of turning that off unless I put it to a car or put it to a mission that I have yet to do, or you know, as long as it's to a yellow, to a yellow marker, that's the only way that I can deactivate it from Meet Honoka at Embers. But if I track to, say, a car, and then I stop tracking to that car, it immediately goes back to Meet Honoka at Embers. They need to have a system where you can turn that off, especially when you're trying to follow a GPS route and the yellow GPS route is overtaking, say, the blue or the white or, any other colour that there is. I don't think there is any other colour, but, it's overtaking the blue and the white, and, you're trying to follow it, but the yellow is overpowering these other colours, so you end up following the yellow by accident, and, it's just, you just need to be able to deactivate the objectives, especially the Meet Honoka at Embers one, because that one is so annoying. This is one, and number 8 is one that everybody, well, practically everybody wants, and that is the option of having a third-person view during non-car gameplay. Now, this is for players who prefer third person over first person. Now, I am a gamer who plays predominantly in third person. I do play first person games, and I do play third person games in first person sometimes if it has the option to. Because it is just one of them things, it is fun sometimes, but, some people would prefer third person because of, the Beat on the Brat storyline and, fights and things like that. It would help them if they had, the third person and they were able to see more. And that is definitely an implementation that should be done, but I honestly don't think it will be, unfortunately. But we can always hope. Anyway, number 9. Now, this is one that everybody has had a problem with, and that is that CDPR must overhaul the pedestrian competence. Now, this is ranging from the pedestrians who stop and do the Jesus pose. This is when you shoot at a car, the people that are in the car, just sit there and, go like that or something similar. And, if you throw a grenade at a car, like say you're on the highway and you throw a grenade at a car, they get out and they cower beside their vehicle. Some do run, but that's after they've cowered by their car, which is a little bit stupid, but, and another one is the spawn on you police. That needs to be overhauled for sure, because randomly spawning police is just fair enough if they're in a car and they've spawned and they're on the way and they're around the corner and they come, fair enough. But when they spawn a couple of feet from you just out of nowhere, then that gets a little bit horrible, because if you're trying to do something, like you're trying to aggravate the police for whatever reason, you're trying to do a rampage or something, randomly spawning police literally a few feet away from you doesn't help, because basically you can be killed without knowing, because they spawn in and straight away shoot you, and you've just got no time to react. And that definitely needs to be checked at the very least. But that is it for that list for now. These changes are needed, and I am willing to wait until they are implemented, but some of them need to be done quicker than others. Like general bug fixes can be done at a later date, but the stuff that you need to have to play the game need major fixes, and they need to be done as soon as possible. Otherwise, more and more players will not want to wait around for the DLCs. Things like the HUD map needing to be a bit bigger. That is something that players want, and that should be implemented as soon as possible. The speech system needs to be sorted out so that people can actually know what they're going to be doing in a mission, rather than just hoping for the best. Driving physics, that's another thing that needs to be done. I don't think many people have called it out, but it is definitely something that needs to be sorted out, especially for controller players. Now, I don't know about on PC because I haven't bought it for PC. I bought it for Xbox, so I don't know if there's a huge difference between the Xbox way of playing, way of driving is different from the PC way of driving, because I haven't been able to buy it on the PC so that I can compare them, but hopefully I will be able to soon. Now, this section I'm just going to add a few I'm going to say a few changes that I reckon should be implemented, but I don't think they are likely to be implemented. Now, the first one is we should have the option for V customization beyond the initial setup. Now, this has bugged me because, I had my first V, which was the Street Kid V, which I have maxed to level 50 on the level, the levels that you need to be up to, build the skill tree. And I've also got to level 50 Street Cred. So I have maxed out my Street Kid version of V, but I want to be able to change things on her, like add more chrome to her, possibly make her fully chrome sort of thing, to sort of show off, how big and amazing this version of V is. She's a level, I think it was a she that I made. It's possible, I'm not sure though. But that version of V was a level 50 and a level 50 Street Cred. So, to be able to, show that off by customizing V beyond the initial setup would be a great way of doing it. And this also leads into number 2, which is we should have the options to customize our cars once they're bought. Now, I've bought, a load of small cars, all the cheap cars. I've bought Caliban. I've bought some off-road cars. I've got Johnny Silverhand's Porsche. You know, I've got all of these cars, and I want to be able to, I want to be able to customize them and, make them different than their stock version, perhaps add things to them to make them better for off-road, or be able to take, say, the little crushed van type mini van thing, Supron SF3 I think it's called, something like that, to be able to take that and perhaps, put like a Badland like version body onto it, tune it all up and have it as, like a Badlands, going all off-road version of that van. To be able to do something like that would be amazing, and it would also give us the option of having more than just that car. You can have the original version, but you can also have the Badlands version, or the, you can perhaps even add a system into it that does the, the air lifting, it makes it into one of them airlift taxi things, or what they use for the the medical, the trauma team. They have a flying vehicle for themselves, a flying ambulance, and to be able to make one of your cars, be able to fly, it's 2077. They have the systems, they have the technology to make things, make car-like things fly. So why don't they implement it to actual cars? Things like that. Which also leads into number 3. And that is, we should have the option of being able to use the flying taxis. Now, this is for the players who want to travel to a certain point, but they don't want to fast travel because the loading time, could be extremely slow depending on the system that they've got, or it could even be fast, depending on the system they've got. But, some people would prefer to be able to, see the city from the air and see the Badlands from the air, and, things like that, and, just sit back and look out the window and watch everything go by as they go to their destination, which, gives them another option of getting to places rather than driving there with the bad handling, the practically non-existent brakes, and, things like that. At least here, they have the option of not fast traveling, but traveling to the place in style, which would definitely help if you are a, like a relatively rich V. In my Street Kid version, I've got over 300,000, I think, at my last look. I may have spent some of it, but I remember it being over 300,000. It may have gone down to somewhere in the 200,000s, but I'm not sure. Even if it was like, say, $1,000 to get from, say, Japantown to somewhere in the Badlands, the Sunshine Motel, or whatever it's called, like, say that's $800 dollars. Things like that will help players have more options. And number 4, we should have the option of replaying missions beyond the finale as a way of boosting V's income. Now, the random attacks are great. They are a great way of getting money, because you can get all of the people's guns and sell them, and some of the victims there have eddies on them, and some of them have things that you can sell, like jewelry that sells for quite a lot, or they have something that comes under the junk items, and they sell for practically nothing, so but it all adds up in the end. So being able to replay the missions beyond the finale should be an option, because especially when you've done all of the random attacks and you've done all the gang attack, the organized crime attacks and things like that, and you've done all of the gigs, you've done all of the side quests, you've done all of the main mission, to be able to go back and do some stuff to earn more money should be an option. And finally, at least for now, number 5, and that is they should have more cars added, a la GTA Online, where we don't get so that we don't get the same cars passing us over and over and over and over and over again. We get to see some new cars roaming the streets, and we get to be able to buy new cars, and we can steal new cars to try and see if the handling is worth buying, and things like that. Just more cars is needed, because the car list that we've got at the moment is a little bit scarce, to say the least. They just need more cars now. Whether more cars are going to be coming in the DLCs, I don't know, but they should definitely have more cars in the game at some point. Now, I'm not saying first DLC that's coming out later this year, bang, you've got 50 new cars, go and enjoy. You've got 1,000 new random attacks, organized crime, gigs, all of that. Like, you've got 1,000 new stuff to do. There you go and play, sort of thing. It should be, they have to really craft every single DLC properly. And I'm going to compare this game to Euro Truck Simulator 2, and you will understand why in a second. Now, let me just check something. Yeah. Euro Truck Simulator came out in October, was that? Yeah, October of 2012. Now, they are still releasing updates to it and new areas to the map. Even now, they've got a new area of the map due to come out sometime in the next couple of months. So they have been able to keep Euro Truck Simulator 2 alive for, this will be the 9th year that they've been updating it, and that is simply because what they've done is crafted everything, and they've made sure everything was perfectly detailed enough that, as you're driving past, you can see things, you're not missing anything, and they make sure that everything is perfect before they release it. And if it's not perfect, they don't release it. They've had 8 and a bit years now of developing this game. It started out as a little tiny chunk, and now it is massive. The map is ginormous, from Scotland to Turkey, I think it is. From basically the top left to the bottom right, it's well over 1,000 miles between them, and that is such a long drive. But whenever you enter a new place, you immediately know, you have things around you that show you what this new place, and it shows you everything, which is absolutely amazing. And it gives you a chance to be able to explore. You can look out and see, like France turning into Germany, into Switzerland, into, I can't think of any other countries, but you get the idea. As you go further, you see changes, and you see the road getting better if it's in a richer country, or worse if it's in a poorer country, and sorry about that. Things like that. That's what CD Projekt Red have to do. They have to make sure that everything is perfect. No bugs, no crashes, no stability issues. They have to make sure that these DLCs are perfect before they send them out to the consoles and to the game. Playground Games had to delay one of their updates because, one, it wasn't finished, and two, at that time they were taking themselves out of the public eye, because at the time the BLM protests were going on, and they wanted to show their solidarity by allowing their voices to be heard rather than their own. And they delayed it by about 2 weeks, and then everything that was due to come out got crammed into the last 2 weeks of that month, and then they had another month's worth 2 weeks later. So they also took that extra 2 weeks to finesse everything that was in that update, so that it was perfect when it went to our consoles. So that is definitely something that CD Projekt Red definitely needs to keep in mind when they're going forward. And another one is they need to sort out the stability issues, which is the crashes. I completely forgot to put that in the first lot, but I think I made it sort of evident when I said general bugs, because it, the stability of the game is questionable. You can see in all of my videos, at least once the game crashes and spits me out of the game completely. Thank God I got a digital copy, because God knows what would happen if I had a physical copy. Especially if it decided to just spit me out of the game. Who knows what it could have done while it was in there. It could have scratched the game completely and made it worthless. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you are from CD Projekt Red and you do implement any of these, then thank you so much. I know this is a bit long. I've just looked at the time. It's over 50 minutes. Ooh. And I'm so sorry that it's taken this long to get through it, but I wanted to be as detailed as possible to try and help CD Projekt Red, because at the end of the day, it's a game that I like. I love the views. I love the feel of it. And, it could do with a little bit more, especially in the inner city. More people, make it feel more like an actual city. Well, obviously not a 2020 and 2021 city, because that's practically bare, but like an actual 2077 type city where it's jam-packed and it's crammed to the rafters with people, and that is what I want. That is what I want to see, especially in the inner city. And then on the outskirts, it starts to get a little bit more sparse. And then in the Badlands, it is literally just the Badland gangs and the raids, Aldecaldos, all of them type of people. I've completely forgotten what they're called. You know what they're called. The Aldecaldos, raids and things like that. But yeah, that's what they should do. Implement things that make the world feel alive, because at the moment it just feels dead. The world feels dead. The people feel dead. Everything about the game feels dead, which is horrible, because it's a game that can be great, but it just needs work on it. It was not ready. People who worked at CD Projekt Red even said, if we had a 2022 release date, it would have been a miracle if it was ready then. So it was not ready. It was not finished. Now, I know that investors and things like that might want it to be, released as soon as possible so that they can make money and things like that. But if you're releasing a product that is not fully done and finished, then, it's going to cost way more to fix everything than it is to just finish the production of it. Have all of them tweaks done and make it feel a bit more alive and things like that. To be able to finish the production on the video game would cost a lot less than now them having to practically overhaul the game with pretty much everything so that the game is playable. And it's basically costing them 2 games worth for this one game. So all of this just goes hand in hand, and unfortunately it goes negatively towards CD Projekt Red, which I don't think is fair, because yes, they released it way too soon. It's definitely a beta game. At the minimum, it's a beta game or an early release game. Because you can't buy it from PlayStation anymore, and people are getting refunds from Steam and Xbox and things like that. There's only going to be a select few, me included, who are still going to push through and continue to use the game, while other people are just going to go off onto other games. And the time that they're spending now fixing it and the money that they're now spending to fix it could have been used better to finish the production and make it even bigger. They had a casino, a picture of a casino which looked amazing. It's not in the game, and when you try to go beyond, like say you want to go beyond where all the roads are to see what's out there, it just gives you a message on the screen that says there's nothing here for you yet. We'll head back or go back. I can't remember what it said, but it basically said go away, this isn't ready yet. So I get that they wanted to keep certain areas for DLCs and things like that, but is it really worth it when you basically got to overhaul the game to make it work, and you've practically spent your next game's budget on this game? You may have had enough from the previous game to make this game, but you're now taking money from the next game to finish this game, which means that the next game is almost certainly going to be a much lower budget and a much lower quality if they are not able to pull Cyberpunk back from the dead. That is where they are coming from now. They have to bring Cyberpunk back out of its coffin and out of the ground 10 feet under. They have to dig deep and finish the game, sort the game, and not focus on the DLCs and microtransactions and stuff like that. Focus on the stability of the game. Focus on the fact that the game has bugs and things that need to be overhauled, and especially the speech system. They really did not finish the speech system to the point that nobody moves. Some people don't move their mouths while they're speaking. That is not how it should be. And especially when you're watching, like say the TV to, see the news of, your crimes being put all over the, all over the screen. It's just one of them, it just gets a little bit too noticeable, and you just don't, you end up not wanting to play it, because if they're not moving their mouths, then why am I even bothering to listen to them? I'll just either skip through the conversation if I'm talking to somebody for a mission, or I'll just walk away from the TV and just go off and do something else. They don't have any, they don't have any, what's that word? inspiration. It's something like that. And I'm just gonna say inspiration. They don't have any inspiration to go towards the TV. They don't have any inspiration to listen to Hanako, to Takemura, to Hanako, to Wakako, Takemura, and Hanako. You know, when they don't move their lips, what's the point of listening to them? You know, just skip ahead and hope for the best. You know, so that is definitely all the stuff that needs to be sorted. Now, I am going to end this video because I've been rambling for over an hour now. And just to let you know, my reactions are coming back in the next couple of days. I have some stuff that I've already recorded. I have some other stuff that I am yet to record. They are all ready to go. I will be recording them very soon. Probably today. I'm going to go and have a little nap, and then when I wake up, continue filming. So hopefully I can record more today and have them out in the next couple of days. But this one is definitely going out today, which is the 28th of January 2021. In the hopes that somebody from Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, that's because I just read Cyberpunk on the TV, from the thing behind me, in the hopes that somebody from CD Projekt Red sees this and, you know, tries to implement some of it. Now, I'm not smart enough to do all the modding and things like that. I just, you know, bow down to everybody who can. You know, modders, I love you. You are the best. And I bow down to you because I just do not have the know-how to do it. But yeah, in the hopes that somebody from CD Projekt Red sees this and possibly implements it into the game, you know, to, you know, try and do like a quality of life updates and, you know, things like that that sort of help people. Oh, I've just remembered another thing. The economy system needs to be fixed, because when I sell a gun to, you know, the drop boxes, say I sell it for $300, I go out, turn away, go back, and I go into the same drop box. It's like $4,000 to buy it back. You know, why has it gone up more than tenfold? You know, the economy system needs to be, you know, jiggled about a little bit as well. Probably wrong use of. Anyway, yeah, the economy system needs to be rejigged a little bit so that it can, you know, be a little bit more fair. But that is it for this video. If you have any suggestions for changes, then leave them in the comment section. I might do a part 2 to this, you know, basically using your suggestions and try and get your suggestions as a voice. And if CD Projekt Red do actually see this video, hopefully they'll see a part 2 if I do a part 2, and, you know, they'll take your suggestions and try to implement them if they can. Now, I know that not all suggestions can be implemented, but some of them just may be able to. Like, for example, they may be able to do something about the vehicles. They may be able to do something about the lampposts and things like that having a mass and still being interactable once they have been destroyed. You know, they've been knocked down, they can still be interactable. You know, things like that they may be able to do, but they probably won't be able to do, where you can attach a jetpack to your back and, you can fly everywhere. They might not be able to do things like that, for example. But leave them in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. I've been Gamer Jamie 111. Bye.